Professor Bear here again. We're going to continue our Google Ad Grant series. We're going to focus on keywords today, how we generate keywords. In specific, we're going to generate 4 documents. Here's some thoughts on prompts of generating keywords. The main thing you're going to need is not just the prompt, but you're going to need some text about, well, what is it that you do? We put this on our GitHub here. So this is what this Lyrical Literacy project is about. This is a lot more detail than we put on a webpage, but it's great for the language models. So we can have this, use this as context. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to go and just ask it to generate some keywords. We're going to generate some other documents as well. Once we have those keywords, we're going to create an implementation guide. And what an implementation guide is when we actually get to the AdSense tool and we start typing in things. We have things that we can just copy and paste and type into the Google AdSense tool. This includes suggested keywords. It may be text-to-image prompts for generating images, text-to-image prompts for generating headlines, generating descriptions. So the Google AdSense is going to ask you for a headline. It's going to ask you for a description. It's going to ask you for side links. So these are, I'm not sure the right way to explain this, but this is like a subcategory within the Google AdSense tool. It'll be more obvious what this is when we actually use the tool. But basically, when you go to Google, if you go to Google and you see an ad here, not sure why no ads are coming up, but let's just say Lyrical Literacy. I'm not getting ads for some reason. Maybe this is an ad. So here's an ad, I suppose, from the Children's Literacy Foundation. And it needs, I'm not sure if this is an ad. Maybe not. It's an AI overview. Oh, actually, we come up number 1. Wow, Bear Brown & Co. Number 1. But when there are ads on my Twitter as well, wow, I guess I just dominate Lyrical Literacy. But when you see ads, also my videos are popping up in Instagram. So when you see something on an ad, I don't know why I'm getting ads. I think it's because I have a pro version of Google and maybe they don't give me ads. But when you see ads, there are little side things here, like this thing, this is from LinkedIn, some text here, often an image. These are things that you put into the Google AdSense tool. That'll be more obvious when we start using the tool. And so what this implementation guide is doing, it's just giving you a lot of stuff to literally paste in the AdSense tool. Of course, you're going to think about it. If you don't think this makes sense, then you don't use it. But it's nice just to have suggestions because, as we've discussed before, Google doesn't want vague keywords. They don't want me to put in music. They want me to put in something much more specific. And the good thing about that is when we have these much more specific words, they're called long tail keywords, meaning we're going deep down specifics. Somebody looking for music neural pathways would probably be interested in lyrical literacy. If they just type in music, they're more likely looking for Diddy or Taylor Swift or somebody than for lyrical literacy. But if they've never heard of lyrical literacy, but if they're looking at music language acquisition, how do I learn a language from music? Well, lyrical literacy would be a good place for them to go. And so this is what Google wants. And so to come up with all of these keywords, it's kind of a pain, but it's what AI does super easily. I can just ask it for more keywords, and put them in the tool. Then what we do is once we do in the tool, and we'll talk about this when we talk about the AdSense tool, we try them. And if they do poorly, we remove them. Google does not want you having poor performers in your keywords. But the only way you really know that is to try them. Like lullabies, we do a lot of lullabies. Suspicion is not a lot of people are searching that, but if the people who are searching that, they'll probably likely like our site. But in order to get any kind of traffic, I just can't put in this one keyword and expect, maybe more than one visit or two visits a day from that keyword. So I need to put in a lot of them. I need to put in a lot of very long tail keywords. And this is what AI is great at. AI is great at generating keywords and more keywords. I can just say, and more keywords. So we're going to start with that. So and this is our campaign guide. So our start is to generate some keywords. We're also going to generate some research papers. So based on our ad campaign, we have two ad campaigns. One is how songs help children learn language, learn to read, learn to think. And this is backed by a lot of science. So what I asked it to do when the prompt is here, the actual prompt I used to write this paper is here. And we're going to write a detailed survey paper on our two ad groups. Ad group one, which is brain exercise songs for children. And then when I post this in there, I'll just post this in there now because it'll take about 5 minutes. I'm just going for us to just generate 100 keywords related to. Now I'm also going to put this paper in there. Brain exercise songs for children. And remove the detailed survey thing. And it'll start generating keywords. And what I do is I just copy them. So one thing I don't know if you know it or not, the reason why we use GitHub all the time is that we can just copy this. And I don't really want the paper. That started writing another paper for me. I'm going to stop that. Because I left some keywords in there. But I can just start pasting these keywords in our GitHub. So I use the GitHub here just as a collection of, so I'm just going to put this as appendix. Oh, this is the wrong one. This is the paper. In our keywords here, as an appendix. And just start collecting them. Once we collect them, we try them. So you actually do two things. Let me take that back. I need to edit that. So what happened there is Markdown, if you don't have any spaces after it, it will, so in order to format it, I'm going to just add some spaces after everything. This is a regular expression that I'm using here. And I'm just going to put a bunch of spaces in that. And that may not look different to you, but it looks different to GitHub. And these are just things we start playing with. First of all, whenever we look at a keyword, does this make sense? Well, this makes sense for what we're trying to do. This makes sense for what we're trying to do. This makes sense for what we're trying to do. What we want to avoid, and the good thing about the Google AdSense tool is it'll flag this. If I'm making a medical claim, like brain exercise will do this for your kids, Google will likely flag it because they don't want me making medical claims. But musical brain training, I don't think they will flag that. I'm not really making an assertion or a claim with that. I'm just, if somebody searches for musical brain training, we do stuff on musical brain training, it's relevant. And so we try them. But brain optimizing music, any one of these keywords is probably not getting a lot of traffic. But all of these keywords, I can put in hundreds of thousands of keywords into an AdSense campaign. And so maybe this one gets a couple a day, 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 this one gets a couple a day. Combine, then we get the traffic up to our budget. And the good thing about it, when we use very specific stuff like language acquisition songs as opposed to music, people are much, 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 much more likely to want to hear what we have to say. Because this is what we're talking about. We're talking about using music to make a stronger brain. And also teaching people how to use music to make a stronger brain. And so because of that, these songs are better for Google. I mean, these keywords are better for Google because Google wants it to be relevant. They're also better for you as a nonprofit because you're getting a higher quality of traffic. Before the days of language models, generating this many keywords could take a long, long time. Now you can generate literally as many as you want. I can just paste these back in, say generate more. Paste these back in, generate more. This is certainly enough to start. I don't know which of these keywords are actually going to work, though. I just know they're relevant. They make sense for what we're trying to do. But maybe nobody searches for this. Even though it's Google and has a bazillion people searching, maybe nobody searches for it. But that'll come up in our stats. We can't predict that until we put the keyword into the AdSense tool and see are people clicking on this. Our hope, though, is a couple people click on that, a couple people click on that a day, a couple people click on that a day, a couple people click on that a day. Then over hundreds or thousands of keywords, we get our traffic. And so that's the idea, and that's why we use AI to generate these keywords, because it could take me a long time thinking of these keywords. But if I read a keyword, yeah, that's relevant. Yeah, that's relevant. Yeah, that's relevant. Yeah, that's relevant. And so it makes it super easy to generate the keywords, which is what we want. And then which ones actually work, we do not know until we get a actual campaign going and put it in AdSense. So this is the first document. The first document is just what I did. These are some suggested prompts. You could just literally paste this in. I can just open up a new session here and just put it in. And it'll start generating keywords. And then as I get these keywords, I'm just going to add them and add them and add them and add them. I'll use other tools to remove duplicates. So at this point, I'm not so concerned with removing duplicates because I'll go back into this here and just, remove the duplicates after the fact. It's a trivial thing to just ask Claude to write a Python script to remove duplicates. But the process here now is generating the keywords. I just want to get as many keywords as I can. Then I want to read them. I want to, is this relevant? Is this relevant? But the relevancy rate is very high with the modern language models. I don't see one that I would not take. Again, I don't know if any of these are going to work. That's an empirical thing. Does somebody actually search for this on AdSense? Then I have the two campaigns. What I generate is I generate a implementation guide. And here is the prompt. So here's a prompt for your nonprofit to generate an implementation guide. So you can literally cut and paste that and put in your nonprofit details there to generate basically this document. The purpose of this is and we'll use this when we go to the AdSense tool. The purpose of this is we have suggestions of, what exactly to type into AdSense. AdSense will ask you for headlines. Or here's some headlines, and we can ask for more. We can just generate 15 more headlines, generate 20 more headlines. Descriptions. It's going to ask you for descriptions. Also, the good thing about using language models is I make spelling mistakes all of the time. Here, these things are, standard. You can also further prompt it. Because sometimes it'll happen and the language model won't know Google's limited to 100 characters. So then you can just paste it back in and say, rewrite this to be no more than 100 characters. And it also suggests your side links. What what side links you might use in the ad, which is a Google specific thing. That's only something you put on their site. So we had two ad groups, and what this document is just when I am using the Google AdSense tool. And here it may block Suno. I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't like brand names, but the Google will tell me. So if I put all of these things in there, it might say, I don't like this. If it doesn't like this, it's most likely because it did not like the word Suno. You are not Suno, but maybe it's okay with Suno because Suno is a general tool, and so which is what we're doing is we're making videos on how to use Suno to create educational music for you and your kids. Maybe they take it, maybe they don't take it, but that's a Google decision. But we can try it. And also with the ad campaign, when we do it, we are going to do it as a draft. With a nonprofit, this is particularly important that you don't submit the campaign. That is, you do it as a draft until you're sure that the campaign is compliant. You do not want to submit something that you haven't checked and double checked. But we'll get into that when we talk about using the tool. So what this thing is just, I don't want to sort of off the top of my head just think of this stuff while I'm at the tool. I want to have this document with me when I'm using the tool. Then we put that in the campaign. Campaigns are an iterative process, meaning if a particular keyword or a particular campaign isn't performing well, particularly up to the Google requirements, then you need to remove keywords and start changing things. But you need to start somewhere. This is the AI process. The AI process is just to start somewhere, which is relevant. This is all relevant. This is all relevant. Google may not like the word Suno. It may be okay with the word Suno. I have no idea. It will tell me. Their tools say, I don't like these 3 keywords. So then I'll just delete them because I can always generate another 50 keywords with language models. And the other 2 things, and it may not be clear why we created these, but we created research papers. And the reason why we're creating research papers is 2 things. We're going to, in the next video, create a landing page. We're going to create a very specific page for ad group 1, a very specific page for ad group 2. I'll show you how to do that. We use a tool called React. It'll take 5 minutes to generate that page. We'll do that in the next video. But in order to have that page irrelevant, our web page is not going to have this much detail. Web pages shouldn't have this much detail. This is a research paper style writing. But this gives the language model context. So the language model can easily handle all of this. But if we want our page to be really relevant and really tight on ad group 1, what we ended up doing is we just simply asked, and here's the prompt that we actually use. So I'll just paste this in right now. So this is the prompt we used. And this will make it back 5 minutes. So a tool, and I'll use ChatGPT for this. Tool or Claude or whatever you want. The reason why I'm using ChatGPT is I've used Claude for the other ones. And it'll take about 5 minutes to write this paper. Actually, it's quicker. I think ChatGPT may be a little quicker because it's not doing quite the job that Claude did. Let's test the comparison right now. This seems a little light to me. Let's do the same thing in Claude and just do a direct comparison. Claude will take 5 minutes. And I think the reason why Claude is taking 5 minutes is it's actually doing some research. So of the 2 so far, I far prefer Claude. You can also try it in Gemini. Let's, go for it. Why not? Why not go for all of them? But what we use these for, I'll let these do their thing, and we'll come back and look at them when they're finished going. This will take about 5 minutes. The GPT one seemed very light to me. And we want something substantial. We want a nice document talking about what we do. But why we do this is we're going to use this information. It's going to be much simpler on the web page, but that's an easy thing for a language model to do. Just summarize and keep the key points on the web page. Essentially, that's our prompt. It's going to be something like that. take this as context and just keep the key points on the web page or landing page. And we're also going to use it for the video because we need to make a video. Our landing page is going to look something like this. So we're going to have a video, and then we're going to have details. But what we're going to do is we are going to basically take our survey paper. We're going to take this, our React page, and basically ask Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini to write a React page about the survey paper, but in the format of this, where it has a little abstract here, has a hero section video, has about, it has this, it has that. That'll take about 5 minutes to do, and this will be name to whatever our campaign name is. So it'll have its own name. It won't be available here on our general thing. A search and you'll find it, but you won't find it if you're coming this side. The reason why that's done is that we want that page, and Google wants that page to reflect traffic not coming from me just clicking on a link and going to that page, but traffic coming from the ad. How effective is your ad? And so what we do is we just create a simple page for it. If you use a tool like React, and we have a lot of videos on using React, we have our entire website. You can download the code for a website and modify and change it. It literally takes 5 minutes to create another page that looks like this. This is a nice page. It goes dark, it goes light, it's optimized for mobile. I just talked to somebody yesterday, and they pulled up the web page. She pulled up the web page on her phone, and it looked good on her phone. And so we're going to create landing pages for every ad group, and we're going to do that in the next video. But having this information here, having the information from a detailed, science-based, evidence-based description of what you're doing allows us to create a much more effective and evidence-based web page for what you're doing. So to summarize, we have this page here. I'll put this in here. You can go to this little GitHub and look at this. We generate some keywords around to a campaign. A campaign is a theme, like Lyrical Literacy. Then ad groups. Our ad groups are brain exercise and creating your own brain exercise music. Those are our two campaigns. We generate a bunch of keywords. When we have keywords, we start putting them in the AdSense tool and trying them. And that's an iterative process. If this doesn't really get us any traffic, or Google doesn't like it for some reason, we just delete it and look for some more. But we generate a lot of keywords because none of these keywords are going to get us a lot of traffic. But combine a few keywords that, each get a couple of links a day can add up pretty quickly. Then what we do is we create a implementation guide, and this is basically cut and paste into your AdSense concept. So you're not going back and forth. Okay, what would some good site links be? What would some good descriptions be? What would some good headlines be? This is all in this document. If you have a group like we do, we have our group check the document so more than one person has eyes on it. Another reason to create a document, because then other people can look at it. Well, I don't think, this is going to be compliant. So then we just delete it. If anybody in our group doesn't think that Google would be happy with this, we just delete it. We can always come up with 10,000 more keywords. That's not an issue. Then for both of our ad groups, we create a survey paper. And what that survey paper does, and I'll go look at the survey papers we just created. They should be done by now. It allows us to then create much more focused landing pages and focus videos on that campaign. Our landing page is not going to have this kind of detail. But having this kind of detail allows a language model then to write your page, because the language model is going to summarize it. What are the key points here? But if it doesn't know what those key points are, it can't summarize it. So what this is, we're giving it a lot of context. We're giving the language model a lot of context. So when we write a landing page, the landing page is highly specific and highly effective. So I've already talked too long. I know I always say this at the end of it, that I talked too long, but I guess I just talked too long. So, and this is why we're doing this as a series, so I don't go on for 10 hours. So do the like, subscribe thing. In our next video, we are going to make these landing pages. So I hope to see you then. Again, do the like, subscribe, ring the bell thing.